Hi, hello, and welcome to another episode of The War on China. Today, I am once again honored and really pleased to be joined again by Mr. Mario Cavolo. He has been in China for 21 years, has a beautiful Chinese family, and has written 3 books on China. He is a senior fellow at the Center for China and Globalization, and is constantly on Chinese media, giving his opinion, arguing his perspective, and he is heard. He is listened by the people who tune in. So again, it's a great honor, great pleasure to be with somebody of this caliber. Mario, how are you tonight?
Fernando, I'm great. You're too nice. You talk too nice about me, but I appreciate it, and I thank you very much. Between the two of us, we are here in China 41 years.
Mm-hmm.
I'll tell you this for a couple of reasons. Friends, I want to say hi to all of you tonight. Listen to me. Listen to Fernando. You think we're playing games here? We got a big problem. You know what the problem is? It's the title of our new show. That's what the problem is. The War on China. We are living in unprecedented times. We really are living in an extreme time. I never imagined in my lifetime that I would see anything, live through, experience anything like what we're going through right now in this U.S.-driven, nasty, brutal, vicious, Cold War, which, God help us all if it gets hot. It's not going to get hot. Don't worry about that. But this is already brutal and vicious where it is right now. It's unbelievable. And I want to say this to you about this show. Okay, this show is not about friendly, calm, quiet, rational chit chat. Screw that. The stakes are too high. Okay, we are the experts, and we are angry. And we have a lot to talk about. Listen to what we have to say to you, because the standard is that all the time when we're talking to you, it's based not on, oh, let's have a happy chit chat, Mario and Fernando. Yeah, let's talk about China, blah, blah, blah. Rhetorical ideas and opinions. No. Everything that I'm talking to you about, and it's reflected in my conversations with Fernando as well, is based on what we know is evidently, observably, demonstrably true. Folks,
Yeah.
if it's not evidently, observably, demonstrably true, you think I'm going to go on public all over the world and say it and and take a chance to let myself look like a fool? Fernando, you going to do that?
No, we're not going to do that. We are
No.
here to undo the brainwashing that you have been subjected to for so long from your governments and mainstream media. And I include myself. Today, we're going to talk a topic that is extremely important, extremely relevant. And I'm going to share my change of perspective based on one of the topics that we're going to talk about. So the first topic today is China's incredible restraint. China's incredible restraint. We touched on this on the last episode when we were talking about the Hong Kong situation, but today we're going to go back a little bit more. We're going to talk about Tiananmen Square. There you go. This is one of the topics that I was always told, oh, don't talk on your YouTube channel about this because you're going to get in trouble. But we're going to talk about that. I made a video a few months ago, well, probably more than a year ago, when I said, look, I was fed so much information about Tankman. I was fed so much information about Tiananmen. And when I came to China and I started to see how the media constantly lies about China and tells you stories that are not true, and we could go on lists. I mean, this is why this show is going to go on forever because there's so much to talk about. They keep on lying about things. I started to think, what if Tiananmen is not what they say it was? What if what they say happened there didn't actually happen? And I know that this is going to ruffle a lot of feathers and a lot of people are going to go like, oh, but this is why we're here. This is here to tell you what we know is true, factual, and it's something that you can take to the bank. You can go and Google and prove it. Anything else that's out there is questionable, but what we tell you here is not. Mario.
That's right. You can take it to the bank. We were in the middle of that show, and our show, by the way, every show is limited to 30 minutes, which means we end up with a lot of threads that still need to go back and be revisited. Fernando, that's exactly what happened. We finished up the show at 30 minutes. Boom, we're done, and then we schedule another show. Right away afterwards, I said to myself, I know already what the next show has to be about. I'm going to go back and fill in the blanks on what we were discussing. And one of the things that came up that immediately popped into my mind was what you said. So I'm jumping. This show begins with what you had said, as you just noted. And this is where I wanted to start. This idea of the tremendous restraint that the Chinese government shows. And I thought, wait a minute, well, what is he talking about? And you were talking specifically about Hong Kong 2019 protests. I said, yeah, but there's more. Hey, there's always more, come on, right? So I want to go back to there's more, right? And I want to go back to this understanding that this is the opposite. China today is the opposite of what Europe was and what America is. Europe for 7 centuries, went out and expanded across the world it was a imperialistic colonization and hegemony of the world, and it was violent. It was violent. It was rooted in death and wars and murder and massacre, and that's what the nature of it was, period. That's what's in the historical record, okay? And they tried to make it sound a little bit nicer when I was in history class in Catholic school in Yonkers, New York in 1977. But look, it wasn't nice at all, and we know that, okay? They made it nice about Christopher Columbus, but I remember them saying Vasco da Gama wasn't so nice. That the other explorer, I think he was Portuguese as well, and they talked about how he burned the ships with the women and children on board. Okay, so there were some very nasty things happening for 7 centuries, and then that came to an end with World War I and World War II, where Europe, who's so interested in violence, decided to go ahead and destroy their own continent amongst themselves, which was a very stupid and foolish thing for them to do. They decimated their own continent, okay? That was World War I, that was World War II. And that's when we then went from 7 centuries of European hegemony to 7 decades of United States imperialistic hegemony. Okay, still with the violence and the warmongering. And in 1950, they did it in the Korean Peninsula. And China said, no, we're going to fight. And they kicked their butts, okay, on the Korean Peninsula. China went in the war. And then in the 70s again, China went in the Vietnamese War. And that's the last time, and this is my point, listen to me. That's my point. That was the last time China went into a war. Now you listen, the 80s, 60s, 70s, 80s in China were a mess. That's when America was rising, but then it flipped, okay? America's got a lot of problems and is in decline now, but China's rise began late 80s, okay, but really the 90s under Deng Xiaoping when it was the industrialization reforms, and into that 2000, and boom, that's when I arrived, that's when Fernando arrived, and it's been unbelievable for 2 reasons. Reason number 1, because it's been unbelievable in its scale and size and success. And number 2, because for 40 years, it's been done peacefully by China. The rise of China all this time is peaceful. So now we go back to Tiananmen Square. What happened? What do you know about it?
Look, what I learned when I first came here was that there was a protest looking for more democracy. The people were asking for more democracy. That rings a bell when you think about Hong Kong. But look, I learned what the media told me. I learned what Western media wanted me to believe. And, well, you know that when you come here and you start to see how many lies they've actually told and said and stories that they planned And this is true. There's videos and proof that the CIA plants stories in the media so that they run with them and make people believe things that are not true. It's happened all over the Iran-Contras. It has happened all over the war on drugs in Colombia, for example. So this is not the first time that they do this. So it made me question Tiananmen and wonder if it's really the way it happened back in the 70s, that back when it actually took place.
Ready?
Yep.
Ready? It's easy for me to share with you the clear, precise details and facts. It'll take me 1 minute, and then you'll be done with your confusion about the Tiananmen Square story. Here it is. Okay, I got my notes, crystal clear. The lie of the Tiananmen Square situation. Okay. Oh, the Tiananmen Square massacre. There was no massacre. Listen to me. For months, there was well over a million students. There was reform protests. They were peaceful. They wanted reforms. Okay. They were peaceful. Sounds familiar? Like Hong Kong. It was peaceful. By 95%, By 95% of the people, it was peaceful. Between the understanding between the people and the government while it was being talked through was peaceful. Okay. What happened is, and it was George Soros, and forgive me because I didn't have the time, and I forget the guy's name, the famous guy who died, and this is what precipitated the protest. Forgive me, everyone watching, for not remembering this person's name. This was the guy that was the leader.
In the comment section.
Yes, the guy was the leader of all the students, and he died. And then this precipitated an increase in the desire and demand for reforms. But it was all peaceful. But at that time, Soros and somebody else, and it's just true. Okay, this is in the historical record. Organized, funded, violent separatist revolution amongst a small group of violent students. And those students were the ones who attacked the soldiers outside of, it was around the city, out near the Workers' Stadium area to the west. Okay. Do you know this? Most of the soldiers were there they were just there watching, observing, to keep the peace. Most of the Chinese soldiers were unarmed. They didn't even have guns. Okay. And what happened? These violent, funded, separatist student protesters lit a bus full of soldiers, lit it on fire and burned them to death, and was hanging them. This was not the soldiers' violence. This was the specific student violence. Folks, it was an attempted coup. Can you imagine? It was an attempted coup from the inside, funded by Western forces. Sound familiar?
Sounds familiar. You've heard it so many times in Africa. You heard it so many times in Latin America. Guyana, Daniel Dumbra was talking about how they did it over there. It's the plot. Basically, it is the beginning of color revolutions. You insert a few people that are going to cause chaos. Correct. And is going to, increase the violence. And as you mentioned also in the previous video, which is really important, they want to instigate a response. They want to punch the thorn on the side so that there is an aggressive response, and then they're like, oh, you see, and now we can go in and find justification for invading or bombing or ransacking, whatever they do. That's the original BRI, right? Bomb, ransack, and invade.
Yeah, there you go. Bomb, ransack, and invade. So now I'm telling you the last piece to the information so that you know that what you're being told is crystal clear, accurate, and correct. The Chinese and Western records of what happened that day match. No way, Mario. No way. The Chinese, right. The Chinese and Western records of what happened that day match. There is official government report available online all the time in the Chinese government websites. We can even find that link and put it up. Okay. By the way, anything I reference is somewhere in my Twitter feed, so you can find it there. It might be down a ways, but it's there. The official record was that 180 to 200 or so people were killed. I repeat, 180 to 200 or so people were killed. The official record is this, that Ken Roth, CBS News reporter on the ground in Tiananmen Square, then, that time, that day, those days, said clearly, I was there. I didn't see any students get massacred in Tiananmen Square. It didn't happen. That's Ken Roth. Graham Earnshaw, another well-known writer and journalist who's still in China, okay, said the same thing. I was there, and what I watched was the students and the soldiers were negotiating and talking and discussing so that the students could leave the square at the end on the last day. And at 6 o'clock in the morning, and the students cleared the square. Do you hear what I just said? The students left. They cleared the square. It's very clear. It's very simple. And finally, because I got to tell you this very, very clearly, because this goes right to the State Department of the United States of America. The United States ambassador to China, that guy who was there, Ambassador James Tilley, who was there, filed his report back to the United States State Department saying the exact same thing. There was no massacre at Tiananmen Square. There was no massacre. There was no student massacre. So now the facts are very, very clear. Top world international journalists stated it. The United States ambassador to China stated it and informed the State Department. So you explain to me what I'm about to tell you. The following. Explain this. You ready? Blinken, Secretary of State Blinken, he got on the TV and made another State Department official declaration. We mourn the thousands of students massacred at Tiananmen Square. Oh, the bad Chinese. Is Secretary of State Blinken like not in the loop? Was Secretary of State Blinken not aware of everything I just told you? Was Secretary of State Blinken of the State Department and Mike Pompeo previously and every other presidency previously not aware of the fact that the U.S. ambassador to China, Ambassador James Tilley's report was not that at all? Do they not know the exact truth? So you tell me why publicly Secretary of State Blinken would do that. Everybody watching, do me a favor, okay? Say, Mario Cavallo, Twitter handle, Mario Cavallo, who wrote these books on China, Mario Cavallo, whose mother-in-law doesn't speak a wink of English and who lives in China. He's calling you out, Blinken, calling you out. You lied. You said, oh, thousands of students massacred in Tiananmen Square, when you know from your own U.S. ambassador to China's report on Tiananmen Square and the mainstream media reports that that's a lie, that that's not true. You're an American. You're a shame. You're a disgrace to America. That's who you are. That's what you are. And Pompeo previous, you're no better. Now I'm done with this. And Fernando, topic number 2 is the same thing again and again, and that's what you brought up, the Hong Kong 2019 situation. Same story. Go. And
I lived it here very up close because I live 30 minutes from Hong Kong. Look, when things started with their umbrella protests, trying to reject a little bit what China was trying to do, because when Hong Kong went back to China, it was a 50-year transition. Now, here's a question to you, the viewer. Do you think that everything is going to change at midnight in 2047? Do you think that it's just going to be a switch and boom, everything is going to change? No, it's a transition because things happen gradually. Let me give you an example of how things happen gradually. You had, for example, here in my city, Dongguan, you would take a train in Changping and you would present your passport and leave China. Get on the train, get all the way to Kowloon Tong in Hong Kong, and over there, enter Hong Kong. That was revolutionary because before that, you couldn't do that. You have to actually cross the border in Shenzhen and do passport, and you were in Hong Kong. Now you could actually exit China in a city, in the mainland, ride your train and enter Hong Kong in another place. You know what happened about 2-3 years ago? Well, they opened an immigration office in Kowloon. So basically, you go today to Humen, get a ticket. In 30 minutes, you're in Hong Kong, and you exit China. in Hong Kong and you enter Hong Kong in China. So this transition, this little by little changes, they were always kind of like opposed by people. Like, oh, they're changing things. Of course they are. Of course. It's a transition. In 2047, that's what it's going to be like. You're going to be part of China. You better start to adjust and understand that this is what's going to take place. So the umbrella thing and all this protests, they were all Pacific. They were always disrupting things, but nothing to the level of what took place in 2019. Let's go back to 2019 and understand where this is coming from. Why? Why did they start protesting? A Hong Kong guy killed his girlfriend in Taiwan. This is why they were protesting, because Taiwan says, hey, I want to get this guy back. He flew back to Hong Kong, so Taiwan was asking for extradition. This is why this is started, okay? Taiwan said, we want to get the guy over here. And Beijing went like, oh, hold on one second. If you're going to have extradition with Taiwan, Taiwan is part of China. Hong Kong also has to have an extradition agreement with Beijing, with the mainland. And they're like, oh, here we go again. Beijing is trying to control Hong Kong. And like, no. We're just, you're trying to get something, somebody all the way to Taiwan. Well, we also want some people over here. And there's no extradition treaty. So now that you're going to get one with Taiwan, which is part of China, hey, we also want that. That's what started the revolt. But here's the thing. They were still past peaceful protests. It was when America started to put money and started instigating violence. I remember, you go and check that video from Steve Bannon having a live stream telling the organizers in Hong Kong, oh, you need to wait until it's dark. Oh, you need to walk down this road and get into the legislature, and this is what you're going to do. You've got Steve Bannon, an American consultant, or I don't know, as he gives his advice to the president of the United States, doing a live stream telling people how to hurt Hong Kong more and more and more. What is that? How is that not interference from another country? How is not offending the sovereignty of China and its sovereignty over Hong Kong? And everybody's like, oh, but they're just fighting for freedom. What freedom? What freedom? When you go and look at the record of which countries are freer, which regions in the world were freer, Hong Kong was number 3. America, God knows where they were. So what were they really fighting for? They just wanted to destabilize China. They just wanted to separate Hong Kong from China. That's all they wanted to do. And the amount of violence that we saw, the amount of, they were killing people, they were destroying the city. You would go to Hong Kong and you would be, this is the most beautiful place in all of Asia. This combination, this amalgamation of Western and Eastern, you would just be in love with the place. And it was sad to see these bastards destroying the city just because they were being paid by the United States.
I wrote it down. Let me say again. It was organized, funded, separatist violence. Nancy, the heck is her name? The House Speaker lady. Thank you. Nancy Pelosi. Isn't it beautiful seeing violence? Isn't it beautiful? People were promoting it. Looting and destruction. And I saw the video today, I don't remember where, of us. They were the protester people, these violent protesters. They weren't protesters. They were criminals. They were assaulting innocent women. Hong Kong women, Chinese women, they were assaulting innocent women. They were looting and throwing firebombs. They set a man on fire for disagreeing with them. Can you imagine being so angry with you and saying, oh, I disagree with you because you like Brazil here, and I set you on fire because I disagree with you, set you on fire, destroy your life, devastate you. Okay. Where are these people now? Okay.
in the UK.
And the ultimate one that I just noticed last week from a South China Morning Post article, there was the students who were the recruited violent ones. They were students on university campuses sitting there making petrol bombs, Molotov cocktails. How can you be a student on a university campus making bombs? How can you be doing that? What the hell was the university teachers and administrators doing? And this was on video. Students who were making petrol bombs on the campus. Now, if any of the things that you just said and any of the things that I just said had been happening in the United States, how many would the police or the military or the National Guard have killed over the course of a year's time? Dozens of people killed.
6th.
They would have been killed. Many people have been killed during such violence. This violence took place. This planned, organized violence took place in Hong Kong over the course of a year. And during that time, and we drive the point home that Fernando brought up of the incredible restraint of the Chinese authorities that are supposedly too authoritarian, the Hong Kong police didn't kill one single person the entire time.
I have to jump in with something. Just a few days ago, one of these people, one of these disgruntled people, stabbed a policeman on the back, turned around, and stabbed himself in the heart by killing himself automatically.
Terrorism. This is wacko terrorism.
Hold on one second. This is what is taking place now all over Europe. All over the UK, people are making this man a hero. People are making this man a martyr. People are making this man an example. They're bringing children to the place where this guy tried to kill a police officer. Where are the values? What are these people thinking? And look, they bring in flowers, they lighting candles, and the police has to be there, right? Looking at them like, who's going to attack me next? Who's going to attack me? Because obviously they are actually supporting the guy who attacked us. But since they're not violent right now, I can't do anything. But just that picture, Mario, just that picture. And I want you guys viewing this to understand. If a person tries to kill a police officer in America, would you accept people defending that person? Would you? Blue lives don't matter anymore then? You tell me, blue lives matter or don't matter? I'm not going to go into all those colors, but this is basically what took place. And there's protests in UK, there's protests all over Europe trying to defend this person. Oh, the China, the Hong Kong that once existed no longer is. Yeah, because you rats, you cockroaches left Hong Kong.
And on exactly that point, okay, they say to you, see, China ruined Hong Kong. Here's the proof. Thousands of people are leaving Hong Kong. Excuse me. Listen to the lie. Don't, I like to take the time, teach you how you're being lied to, okay? They take a small sample and try to make it seem like that's the majority, okay? Thousands of people are leaving Hong Kong, and that's because the Chinese government ruined it. Now, listen to me. If thousands of people are leaving Hong Kong, that means 9 million Hong Kong people aren't. Remember that. It's not the people that are leaving, number one. Number two, let's go back and talk about this, okay? My parents left New York. New York is, and Manhattan is the greatest place in all of New York, in all of America, and all of New York, Manhattan. But it's not what it used to be, and lots of people have moved away. Thousands of people have moved away from New York, okay? And that happened back in the 70s too, okay? And lots of people are moving away from California, and lots of people are moving away from Italy. Is that because you're blaming the government?
Uh-huh.
No, You see how they suck you in, and they take two things and create them as being associated with one another when they're not associated with one another. Thousands of people are leaving Shanghai every year. So what? It doesn't mean anything. So don't let them deceive you with this lie, which leads me to, if you let me, Fernando, the next one, which is the same thing with the Uyghurs in Xinjiang. Don't believe the lie. And here's the lie. You read this from these separatist Uyghur people who try to tell you that Chinese government is ruining Xinjiang and ruining life for the Uyghurs there, which is nonsense. Okay, and here's what they say to you, and here's how they lie to you, and you believe it. Okay, they say, I was arrested, detained, harassed, abused, whatever, only because I was Uyghur. Because I was Uyghur. Really? So you see, I ask again. There's 12 million Uyghurs in Xinjiang. They're all walking around free. None of them are detained, harassed, or arrested because they're Uyghur. They're all free and having a nice life. So you see how you let yourself get deceived? Someone says, oh, because they detained me because I was a Uyghur. No, they didn't. Because if that was true, which is what Hitler did, he took people, he detained them, and then he gassed them and killed them because they were Jews. Am I wrong? No. You see? You see? You see, so there's 12 million Uyghurs out free. 99.999% of them are out free. No one's being detained. Now, how do we know this? Because you're free to go to Xinjiang. And here's the portion of our show where we got 2 minutes and then we're done, Fernando. I'm interviewing you. You were in Xinjiang. You were there recently. Anyone can go. What did you see? Tell us about it. I want to hear from you. You were there. Tell people the damn truth and put these lies to bed, and the show's a wrap tonight. Go.
You know why we're angry? Because people freaking lie about things. There was a video put by a very popular YouTuber who used to live here and couldn't make it in China and had to leave the country with his tail between his legs, saying that I was paid and sponsored to go to Xinjiang. I wasn't. Look at my face. I wasn't. I went by myself. Anybody in the comment section, anybody coming to my channel to say that I was paid or sponsored or guided, you're getting banned because you do not come to my comment section, call me a liar, and remain in my comment section. I went by myself with somebody who's probably watching right now, Noel. We bought tickets, we booked hotels, and we took a COVID test, and we went and we shot videos. That's exactly what we did. So, first lie, I did not get paid to go. I actually said a signed affidavit, a statement on my video saying that that was not the case. And these people, they're making videos saying that I did. Oh, I smell legal suits coming. Next question, Mario.
There is no next question. We're done for tonight, Fernando. We're going to continue this conversation in our next show. Everybody, we're the experts.